Chevra, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. The hour is very late here in Melbourne. Lichbenchen is in less than 2 hours. Today is Erev Shabbos, Pashas Bamidbar, and tomorrow is Erev Chag Shavuos. Then comes Shavuos, so we have 3 days, holy days. The Rebbe speaks about it in the Sicha of Bamidbar Tinosei, and what I'm going to speak today is based on that Sicha, Moiridike Sicha. Today we're going to talk about the essence of life, the most important issues: happiness, meaning, purpose, existence, reality, connecting, belonging, as we'll soon see. But first, we'll start with a prayer, and that's from Kapitel Kufchav Chesed Tehillim, and the pasuk says, Urei vonim levanecha, sholem al Yisrael. May you see children born to your children, and may you see peace upon Israel. So the connection between the beginning of the pasuk and the end of the pasuk, which is a phenomenal blessing, is Urei vonim levanecha. You should see children born to your children. Children can go on students. Rashi brings it down in this week's parsha. So when you make solid students that then go on to make more students, and they're teaching people how to be men of character and integrity, which obviously must be connected to an awareness of God. So basically you're busy spreading the knowledge of Humolored Deo Es Hashem. You're busy spreading the knowledge of God, which will one day fill the land. Humolored Deo. Mola means it's so full of it that there's no aspect and iota of existence that doesn't sense this. So once you'll see Urei vonim levanecha, sholem al Yisrael. Once the world will come to an awareness and a higher consciousness of God, then there will automatically be peace. Because that's the only way we'll come to true peace, as we'll discuss today. We also have to discuss Shavuos, the lesson of Shavuos, the connection to the parsha, etc. But today we're calling it a thought for the festival. So mainly we have to talk about Shavuos, and then we will connect it to the parsha. What is Shavuos? In a certain sense, Shavuos is the most important holiday of all holidays. You could say it in a simple level because the Torah was given to us. That's when we became really a nation, even though we were redeemed in the story of Passover. But the purpose of Passover, the purpose was to come to Sinai, that's when God chose us. And He gave us our bond, our wedding band, which really connects us to Him in the most intimate way, as we'll discuss. So the Zohar actually says an expression that the Yontiv of Shavuos is Emtzei Isa Dekula. It's the central point. It's the essence of everything. Everything starts from Shavuos, and everything else is an extension of Shavuos. So Shavuos is the most important holiday. This year, Shavuos follows immediately after Shabbos, and the Rebbe in that Sikha that I mentioned before talks about the connection. Also that the Talmud says, according to all opinions, whatever day the Torah was given of the month, but on the day of the week, they all agreed it was given on a Shabbos. What's the connection between Shabbos and Matan Torah? So, what is Shabbos? Shabbos is sometimes translated as a day of rest. God created in the 6 days of creation, and He rested on the 7th day, and we have a day of rest. So is our day of rest the same as every culture? They have Sunday, is a day of rest. Some people have a day of rest every day. A couple hours in the day where they take a fiesta. And right now there's all the talk of working from home and working less hours. So you have a day of rest every day. What's the big deal of a day of rest? But obviously, Shabbos is much deeper than that. The Alter Rebbe, in the last page of the Tanya, speaks about it, and we mentioned this already many times. He says there's the external aspect of Shabbos, which is Shvisa Memalacha, rest from work, but then there's the inner dimension of Shabbos. Shabbos Oisius Toshev, we return to the source. We're very, very busy on Shabbos. Busy connecting, busy bonding, busy recharging our batteries at the very essence. So that's what it means, rest. Rest means there's when you're in a mode of outward, in a mode of descent, busy, 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 like a battery expending its energies. And then there's when you're in a state of cleaving, in bliss, because you've arrived at home in your very essence. And that's what Shabbos is. And that's the real meaning of Shabbos. So let's go back. First we'll give you an analogy, how Chassidus talks about why we're not allowed to work on Shabbos. We're not allowed to do malacha, we're not allowed to do work on Shabbos. What's the reason for it? So in Chassidus, in Chassidus and Kabbalah, there's a concept of Aliyah So'elamis. The worlds get elevated. Return to source. What does it mean the world gets elevated? And the answer is like when we're in a relationship with the king, and there's the king as he exists in his outer chambers, and there's us going towards the king. We can meet the king as he addresses the nation, we're one of the nation. We can meet the king as he's in his office, in his garb, and he's dealing with problems of the country. But then, Haviani HaMelech Hadorov, we could be with the king in his innermost private chambers, as the king is by himself, in relation to himself. And since we're talking about the relationship between subjects who love the king, and the king is the greatest king you can imagine, full of wisdom, full of knowledge, full of kindness, full of generosity, who's completely selfish, so to speak. So the whole purpose of the subject is to live his life, to become closer and closer to the king. Anor Nosev Malk, I choose the king. As the famous analogy goes, that there was a king who opened up his home. We spoke about this many times. He made a hall, a chamber of bronze, silver, gold, diamonds. And the different people, they were led into these chambers. They lost their minds. They got so taken by all the glistening and the shiny gems or coins. One person was satisfied with bronze, a smarter person went for the silver and gold, etc., and diamonds. But there's one person who realizes all of these treasures are nothing to the ultimate treasure. I want the king himself. Spending intimate time with the king himself is the greatest treasure. Now, the analogy that Chassidus gives for not working is like when a person, you have a general in an army who serves the king. So when he's in the battlefield, he's waging war, he's betachas aspashtus, he's complete expansion, his mitzias herzachon. He's bellowing commands, he's roaring with courage and power, etc., etc. And he's swinging his sword, etc. But then when he's standing in front of the king, there's an element of bittul, self-nullification, that there's no peeps, there's no noise that he makes. He's betachlis habittul, the opposite of espashtus, the opposite of expansion, but contraction. He goes into himself. Because in the light of the ultimate sun, in the ultimate illumination, there's no room for him. He's nothing compared to the king. So there's two elements we're speaking of over here. Number one, there's an aspect where you become drowned in the infinity. You become one. You reach transcendence into infinity. So you become part of the infinity. And that's the ultimate. But that's like nullification. But there's also, it's bliss. You know, imagine somebody told you, what's for you the life? One guy says, when I'm in my, what do you call those things? Jacuzzi. If I'm in my, I'm talking about a goy. Some goy is going to say, when I'm in my jacuzzi with a bottle of champagne, that's the life. Cheers. So to him, that's the life. Life can end right now. That's it. I don't need anything else. That's bliss. The ultimate bliss. There might be a poshta yid who's like a heise mikveh. Machaya. Who knows? But the real thing is, Asheralti meis Hashem, Shifti beveis Hashem, kol yimei chayai. What's the ultimate dveikus? Dveikus and the Eibishter. And that's what we're all looking for, which means absolute, ultimate intimacy with the Eibishter. That is what it's all about. Begin the Shtamuden Bay, that we should become closer and closer. Yisrael, Leiraisa, V'Kuchivrichu, Kul Echad. We become totally one with Hashem. So that's what it means. Now let's go back to peace. I started today talking about, we're going to talk about peace, tranquility, serenity, purpose, meaning, existence. Now imagine if I told you that you know, without a shadow of a doubt, what you're doing in this world, and what your job is, and why you were created. So many people are plagued with this question, and they have their doubts. And like the Rebbe once told a person, I don't want to repeat the story, where he said, you have a split. Why? Because this person, they don't know how to reconcile the disparate different parts that are going on in their life, the work, the business, the family, the desires, their accomplishments, etc., etc., etc. And the Rebbe told this person, but the students you see in my yeshiva, they don't have a split. There's no dichotomy in their life. They have a centrality, which brings them to a stability, which brings them to a unifying spark and life force in all of existence, and they're part of it. There's no greater feeling of belonging and connectedness when you feel, oh, I've arrived. This is who I am. This is my purpose. And that's the ultimate peace. So let's go now back to creation. When the Eibishter created the world, it says, Bo Shabbos, Bo Menucha. When the Eibishter stopped creating and we came to the seventh day, in the world at that time was felt the ultimate state of existence, perfection in a way, everything connected to its source on the highest level for that time being. Then came Matan Torah, 2,000 something years later, and the purpose of the creation in the beginning was to come to Matan Torah, which gave us the how, the manual, how to bring the world to this state of perfection, that the meaning and the truth and godliness and depth, everything will be revealed to the ultimate, so everything will be at peace. Because everyone's true meaning and purpose is revealed. And by Matan Torah, it says the Eibishter spoke and there was no echo. And it's explained that that's what it means, there was no echo. The truth of all existence became manifest. So there's no echo. Echo means when there's a sound, it bounces off something else, which that something else does not identify. It's a contradiction, it's an obstruction to that voice. So therefore, it bounces off. But if that place also is aligned, because everyone is expressing the ultimate truth, their reason for existence, the presence of superconsciousness of God, so then there's peace. So that's what happened by Matan Torah. And that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. And this is the connection between Shabbos. Shabbos, we have a foretaste, a bit of what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. That's what we say in that benching, that when we say Rachamonu Yanchilenu L'Yom Shekulei Shabbos Umnucha, that every single Shabbos we have a bit of a Shabbos, a mini Shabbos, a simulation of Shabbos, a real tiny bit, mini. And when Mashiach comes, we're going to have the ultimate maxi of Shabbos 24/7, because we're going to have Shabbos all the time. Yom Shekulei Shabbos, because we're all going to be connected at the source and achieving the deepest level of intimacy with Hashem. This is also connected with another concept in Chassidus. It's getting late. The difference between Rotzen and Tainug. Shabbos is Tainug, bliss, pleasure, in contrast to will. And the difference between Dveikus and Hispilus. We spoke about this, I think, for sure. Hispilus means when a person gets excited about something. So there's noise. Dveikus means attachment. When you become really one. Like that's it. You become transported. When you reach a level of time, you become transported completely, and you don't want to move, and you don't even feel yourself how you became one with that thing. And in Chassidus we say, Hispilus berichuk mokem. When you're in a state of excitement, that means still there's two things. There's you and how you became impacted. You became excited from something else. But when you say dveikus, is Bekirav Makam. That means you became one with the thing that you are Dovuk to. Because that shows there's no two different things here. Your state of attachment to that thing is not like unnatural. It became you. And that's what Shabbos is. And that's what Mashiach is. The ultimate reality, the divinity of the world, your purpose, your meaning, and the meaning of all of existence, of all of reality and everything will be totally aligned. There's no dissonance. That is Shabbos, that is Menucha, that is Matan Torah. And let's just talk about Shabbos for a second. The lesson we have to take from this is that in general, we have to realize Shabbos is not about the delicious delectables. The Kuvit Shabbos, 3 kugels and kokosh cake, and this thing and that thing, or to wear the latest fashionable clothes. Okay, fine, that's a level, the Kuvit Shabbos, but that's not what it's really about. Shabbos, Meloshen Tosher, daven longer, get a bit spiritual, sing a Chassidic shinigim by the table, to the yo ye na 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 na, yo yedim oidoy. That's what Shabbos is about. And every Shabbos we should be thinking, wow, when Mashiach comes, we're going to reach the ultimate. I can't wait to reach that level of bliss, that there could be nothing better. By the way, right now, a very hot topic in the world is about Shabbos. I think we mentioned this before. Everyone was talking about getting off your devices. And they can't imagine, they're jealous that we can go off our devices for one day. Guess what, Chevre? Now we're having 3 days. We couldn't care less about email, Gmail, WhatsApp, phone. We don't care about anything else. We're in a state, we're in a state of bliss. It couldn't get better. The world can't even fathom how you can go 24 hours without the devices. Here we're going to have a 3-day Yontif, Shabbos and Shavuos, and we're not going to even think once about any of our devices because we're hooked up with the superpower force of spirituality, divinity, and it couldn't get any better than that. The connection to the Parsha is that in the Parsha, one second, and the Alter Rebbe, I'm just going to say B'kitzur, the Alter Rebbe in chapter 36. First, let's go to 33. We mentioned many times. This is the question which plagues everyone's mind. What am I doing here? And we know what the Alter Rebbe writes, V'zeh kol adam, v'sachos b'diyosoi, u'v'riyas kol ha'elam, v'salyonim v'sachteinim, liyas leidirezeh b'tachteinim. The Alter Rebbe told us already why we exist, to do work, connection to God, which is also mentioned in this week's Mishnah. Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu bari l'chveidei. Same idea. We're not going to elaborate. But what I want to mention is chapter 36, where the Alter Rebbe talks about the purpose and existence of everything, to make this world a world of peace and harmony. We will see truth and divinity in a revealed way. But then the Alter Rebbe, after he discusses what the purpose of all of creation was, he also writes over here the famous words, V'gam kvar hoya le'ilomim me'ein zeh b'shas matan Torah. There was a foretaste, there was something similar to what's going to happen when Mashiach comes for when Hashem gave us the Torah. So all those people that are very much into Mashiach and talking about Mashiach, so the question arises, do you have any idea what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? And the answer is, if you want to know, koch sich in Matan Torah, koch sich in Shavuos. Here the Alter Rebbe wrote, what is going to happen when Mashiach comes? If you want to know what it's all about, look into the story of Sinai. Look into the experience of Sinai. The Messianic experience will be similar, but much more than the Sinai experience. Okay, in Pirkei Avos, I just want to mention, besides what we mentioned before the end of Perek Vav, Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu bara l'chveidei, which means that a person should have a centrality in his life and realize that whatever he's looking at and everything is just about the purpose. There's also a pasuk mentioned in Mishnah Vav. He finishes off, the Mishnah starts, Gedola Torah, Shinesenes Chaim Le'eseu Beilam Hazeu Beilam Haba. Torah is great because it gives life to those that practice it in this world and the next world. And then he says, Ki oirich yomim u'shnois chayim v'shalom yisifu lach, which means length of days, years of life, and peace shall they add to you. So oirich yomim means length of days, means in quality. You understand? Every day is lengthy, filled with matters of content, depth, substance, etc. And the same thing, Shnois Chayim, years of life. What does it mean you're alive? Not that you're not dead, it means it's true life. When you're involved in Torah and you learn Torah, you have Oirich Yomim, length and quality, Shnois Chayim, years of true life, Shalom, and you have peace. Person lives by the Torah, he has years of life of peace. Because again, there's no dichotomy in his life, there's no split in his life. The connection to this week's Parsha, there's a famous Parsha, Chassidus Taich. The Parsha talks about the Jews being encamped and how they had a certain formation and which tribes were on the east and the west and how they, etc. So the Pasuk says, Kasha Yachno Kein Yiso. It's a famous verse. And the little translation means the way they encamped, that's the way they should travel. But it's translated usually, Kasha Yachnu Kein Yiso, they should travel as they encamped. And Rashi actually says, Halichason Kichniyason, Kol Degel Mahalach V'ruach L'ruach HaKvua Shaloi. That means that they should travel as they encamped. Every single flag, every single tribe should go according to the direction that was set aside for him. So if you wanted to bring out that the Pasuk is saying they should travel as they encamped, why couldn't it just say that Yiso, Kasha Yachnu, they should travel as they encamped? So there's a Chassidus Taich, doesn't originate from Chabad, that we're talking about Shabbos. It's a remez. How is your life supposed to work? Kasha Yachnu, as you keep Shabbos, as you connect and bond to the degree that you connect with your source, and you let's get spiritual. The more you get spiritual and you connect to your source and you go into your core and connect with your sense of purpose and meaning, Kein Yiso, so will the rest of the week go. Kasha Yachnu, Azevim Shabbos Dich. Resting is the day of rest of Shabbos. The way you rest, the way you keep your Shabbos, Kein Yiso, so will your traveling, will your work, and your success and your effectiveness be the whole week. So Shabbos is a time to get spiritually reinvigorated, recharged. So if that's Shabbos, a regular Shabbos, in a certain sense we could say Shavuos, which is the ultimate Shabbos in a way, because Torah was given on Shabbos. So we had a preview of the Yom Shekulei Shabbos, the ultimate Shabbos, which is this Shavuos. The Eibusher should help. We should all bond. We should cleave. We should connect. Become one and intimate with the Eibusher. This Shabbos with Hashem. Everyone should be there for the Aseret Dibros. Everyone should say Tikkun Leil Shavuos. Everyone should go to the mikvah. These are all real spiritual highlights of the entire year. And if we practice and we do it properly, Kasha Yachnu, if we will prave Shavuos properly, Kein Yiso, the whole year will be a whole different year on a higher note, on a note of tranquility, on a note of peace, on a note of serenity. What every single person's asking for. Go to every person, average person, and what's the dream? Imagine. And almost every single person, sooner or later, within 5 words, is going to come to peace. And this is what we're talking about today in the whole shir. You want peace? Hashem yitin. Hashem yivarech esami b'sholem. So, Gut Yontiv, posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarech, your man in Melbourne. The Kabbalah Satira, Besimcha, Ubepnimius.